It began as a faint streak on a radar screen, just a thin smear of heat drifting across the Caribbean Sea. But at 2:14 a.m., that faint smear turned into a historic alert. High above the dark ocean, the synthetic aperture radar aboard a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon identified something no intelligence agency had ever recorded before. 98 high-speed cartel boats moving together at over 50 knots carry more than 6,000 pounds of cocaine, an illegal cargo valued at roughly $100 million. A river of narcotics was charging across open water toward North America. Miles away, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer worth $1.8 billion knifed silently through the waves. On board, a Navy SEAL platoon and 2 Coast Guard cutters embedded in the formation. This small joint force represented the only barrier between the United States and the largest cartel maritime transport ever detected. Every electronic system was shut down. Sensors switched to passive mode. Weapon stations remained locked, waiting. The ocean was still, the sky empty, the destroyer silent, a steel shadow drifting under moonlight. And in the darkness ahead, 98 cartel speedboats pushed forward, completely unaware they had sailed straight into a trap 3 agencies had spent weeks designing. Tonight, they would enter a killbox, and not one of them would leave intact. For decades, the Caribbean-Colombia corridor has hosted an invisible war. Billions of dollars in narcotics move across the region each year, slipping between currents, storms, and maritime patrols. Cartels have used everything: semi-submersibles, disguised cargo containers, makeshift submarines, and one-man courier boats. But then something changed, something so unusual that analysts in the FBI Miami field office immediately noticed. Month after month, more than $100 million worth of cocaine was disappearing from northern Colombia without appearing at any seizure site. No busted shipments, no intercepted vessels, no recovered submarines. The trail simply evaporated. Signals analysts began tracing faint radio noise patterns in low-frequency bands. Their data correlated with unusual financial movements. Those 2 streams, electronic and economic, converged on a single name: La Corona del Mar. This wasn't a typical cartel cell. It wasn't a band of smugglers working weekends. This was a maritime organization that had invented a completely new transport doctrine. Instead of 1 or 2 speedboats, they deployed fleets. Dozens, sometimes nearly 100. Each vessel was constructed from ultralight composite materials nearly invisible to radar. They carried no navigation beacons, no AIS, no lights. Engines pushed 250 horsepower, and all communication occurred over low-band radio frequencies designed to blend into atmospheric noise. When investigators finally mapped the routes, the picture stunned everyone in the Joint Command Room. The boats launched from Colombia's Guadra Peninsula, fanned out into wedge formations to mask signal signatures, then regrouped in international waters 200 to 300 nautical miles off Mexico, a blind spot outside regular patrol lanes. There, they moved as a synchronized swarm. This time, the swarm carried over 6,000 pounds of cocaine, and it was split across 98 vessels. FBI analysts immediately concluded the obvious: no civilian law enforcement team could intercept this kind of mass movement. At 50 knots in pitch darkness, a single speedboat is already difficult to track. Multiply that by nearly 100, all dispersing at different angles, and interception becomes impossible. You cannot chase them. You cannot block them. You cannot predict which direction they will scatter. You cannot stop 98 boats one by one. You must stop them all at once. And only a military operation could do that. The FBI filed a joint support request. Within hours, the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard formed a single operational entity, the Joint Maritime Task Force. Its mission was not to monitor, not to observe, not to deter, but to terminate La Corona del Mar's entire maritime empire in one decisive strike. The operation was named Operation Blackcurrant. In Florida's Joint Command Center, screens filled the room with blue light as analysts from all 3 agencies studied the cartel's signature routes. The Navy quickly found what the FBI needed: a natural choke point. Between 2 parallel reef lines, 14 nautical miles apart, sat a narrow water corridor. Strong cross currents forced any vessel attempting to conserve fuel to maintain a straight, predictable heading. If the cartel followed its usual trajectory, it would be funneled directly into this zone. Inside the corridor, they could not scatter. They could not accelerate away. They could not turn without risking capsizing. It was perfect. The Navy designed a killbox around this geography, selecting a 12 nautical mile zone where the cartel would unconsciously lock itself into a straight-line attack path. The trap was set. Preparation accelerated. An Arleigh Burke destroyer became the SEAL team's deployment platform. A literal combat ship LCS, moved to the outer ring to block deep-sea escape routes. 2 Coast Guard fast response cutters locked down the final perimeter. MH-60R Seahawk helicopters carrying Hytrum-trained marksmen stood ready. AP-8 Poseidon orbited above, mapping target from hundreds of miles away. As the hours ticked down, the destroyer powered down all active radar systems to avoid detection. Every light was extinguished, every sound minimized. The steel giant drifted in the dark like a ghost. The SEALs waited on deck in complete silence, rehearsing every movement with the precision of a ticking clock. Their mission: disable engines, capture key cartel leaders alive, and secure the highest value boats identified by the FBI. At 2:14 a.m., the Poseidon radar captured the first decisive image. 98 heat signatures, all moving in the same direction, all matching La Corona del Mar's rake formation. The ocean surface looked, through infrared, like a string of burning embers drifting across black glass. Within seconds, the Poseidon fed real-time vectors, speed, and formation data to the task force. Interception mode activated. Below, U.S. vessels shifted silently into pre-calculated positions, sealing the killbox from all sides. The SEALs remained still, breathing through tension so sharp the air felt metallic. By 3:42 a.m., the speedboats had begun sawtooth running, a tactic meant to confuse long-range radar. But to the U.S. team, it only confirmed they were approaching the predetermined choke point. 4:07 a.m., the first speedboat crossed the invisible threshold. 4:09 a.m., 30 more entered the corridor. 4:12 a.m., all 98 vessels had entered the kill box. For a moment, the task force watched 98 bright red heat signatures pulsing on screens like a single beating E. None of the cartel crews had any idea they were already dead in the water. The sky cracked open. A Seahawk helicopter lifted from the destroyer and dove low, its rotor wash tearing white spirals into the sea. Inside, a Hytrum marksman leaned out with surgical precision. 3 quick shots. 1 engine destroyed. Then another, and another. Within 70 seconds, 13 speedboats had already lost propulsion. The Coast Guard cutters launched interceptor craft, racing across waves at nearly equal speed. Their job: prevent any boat from slipping out of the kill box. The sea erupted in engine spray, flame bursts, and hull slams as cartel vessels attempted desperate evasive maneuvers. But the cross currents, the reefs, and the geometry of the kill box sealed their fate. Some engines, pierced at perfect angles, burst into flames, igniting unstable fuel mixtures. Explosions lit up the water with brief orange streaks before the sea swallowed the debris. In the center, when the formation finally broke, the SEALs made their move. Fast ropes dropped from the destroyer. 12 shadows slid down, landing directly onto the central boats carrying the cartel leadership. The night exploded into silver splashes and brutal close-quarters combat. Stun grenades flashed white across the water. Cartel gunmen fired cheap homemade weapons that posed more danger to themselves and to the SEALs. Within minutes, leaders were subdued and immobilized. One attempted a last-minute escape, El Marino, the cartel's maritime coordinator, but a SEAL dragged him off a wheel and pinned him face down. Outside the kill box, the final runners were hunted down. None escaped. Not one. By the 27-minute mark, the fleet ceased to exist. When the ocean finally calmed, the numbers spoke for themselves. 41 speedboats disabled, 39 seas intact, 18 destroyed, all 98 neutralized, over 6,000 pounds of cocaine recovered, 14 high-value cartel leaders captured. But the greatest prize wasn't the drugs. It was the electronics, recovered from the boats, backup GPS modules, encrypted satellite phones, offline navigation units, low-frequency radio sets, network coordination logs. Within 48 hours, the FBI had extracted thousands of encrypted coordinates mapping hidden warehouses, refueling points, coastal laboratories, and mid-sea rendezvous zones. For the first time, the entire architecture of La Corona del Mar's maritime empire was exposed. The cartel had lost its fleet, its mobility, its anonymity, its leadership, its transport maps, its offshore supply nodes. It was not simply a seizure. It was a functional decapitation. Operation Blackcurrant became a model for interagency maritime warfare, how FBI intelligence, Navy killbox strategy, Coast Guard interdiction, and SEAL precision could merge into a single unit. IDStrike.in, the final official report, the task force commander wrote a single, chilling sentence. No formation can outrun a perfectly prepared kill box. Even El Marino understood this truth as he was led away in restraints. The battle wasn't won when the first shot fired. The battle was won the moment all 98 boats crossed into the corridor. Tonight's operation was more than a tactical victory. It was a message. When the United States combines intelligence, technology, and special operations power, no criminal organization, no matter how fast, secretive, or well-funded, can outrun. The response, though the cartel is capable of launching a 98-boat assault on U.S. territory, what other threats do you think are evolving right now beyond? Public view. Thank you for watching this report on Global Briefing. If you want more deep investigative breakdowns like this, stories the world rarely sees, make sure you subscribe to Global Briefing and turn on notifications.